What better insider than to have the Oregon sideline reporter and my boss, your hero, Dusty Harrah, in studio with me today.
I don't know if I'm anybody's hero. Is my mic even on? Does Casey even have my mic on?
Oh, hey. There we go.
Come on, lowercase.
Ooh, Joe Fisher taking the blame for that. You can't see Joe in there.
Oh, there's Joe. Joe.
Blame Joe Fisher.
I thought we were going to talk baseball, though.
Oh, we can if you want. Hey, dude, I got an hour and a half left of this show. You can do whatever you want,
yeah,
brother.
Man.
But let's get into this. I'm curious, Dusty. Like you've such a fun, unique experience that you sideline report for the Ducks. It's such a rad job, but then you obviously run the ship here. When as practices are ramping up, and you know this program, you've been around for a long time, especially just as a fan or growing up, and now in working with them. Is Lanning, if we rewind back to last year, how things kind of ended in that real hard crash and burn, a little shockingly, is that something that Lanning, is he the guy that's just going to say, we're done with that and we start afresh? Or is that like, hey, let's learn from this and go?
Oh, I think he's always learning. And I don't think there's anything that he ever forgets. I mean, we see that in the Ducks versus them that comes out after wins and stuff. Like, he is always trying to learn and trying to adapt and grow. And I don't think that that's any different from the way that the 2024 season ended against Ohio State to the way that the 2025 season ended against Indiana. I think that, and really 2023 as well, the double losses to Washington that season. It is always kind of growth and trying to figure out what went wrong, and that's how you do it. But make no mistake about it, once spring ball starts, you got to flush that, because if you're thinking about what happened before, you're affecting how you're preparing now. And so I think it's almost like yes to both of your questions in there, in that I think a lot of the development, a lot of the growth over the off season, as short as it may have been, was that, and then they'll go back to reevaluating that. But right now, it is in the moment, and these are the guys we have now. There's no point in looking back on what we did before. Grow from where this roster starts at the beginning of spring ball.
And I think as you get into spring ball and practices and such, and everyone's showing up to camp, you have your new recruits, your new transfers in. I think a lot of the offseason conversation is, where's Kenyon Sneak going to go in the draft? Like, someone's going to get a steal with Dylan Thieneman, and there's no Bryce Betcher. Dante's coming back. But I think we miss a lot. And then the talk about the offensive line. 3 guys missing on the offensive line as well. I think we also forget there was that 2-week stretch when it was like, this guy on defense is back. This guy on defense is back. Whoa, this guy's back too. There's a little bit of kind of, and I don't mean this in a bad way, there's a little bit of run it back mentality. Because that team was very, very good last year.
There's a lot of players that played significant snaps that are returning. And I think that when you have, 3/5 of your starting offensive line depart for the NFL draft,
always scary,
and graduate, you have guys like, Malik Benson and Kenyon Sadiq that are no longer with the program anymore. There is this, where do you go and who steps up there? As you kind of go back and you look at this roster, though, heading into spring ball, there's like 24-ish guys that played significant snaps. And some of those guys on the offensive line over the course of last year. A lot of that has to do with, one, blowing a lot of teams out, and so guys that got significant run, but also guys that played their way into the rotation as the season went on. And they got more snaps, or they were hurt and then they got healthy, and you said, whoa, there they go. And then some guys that didn't even play at all last year and are coming back from those injuries, like an Evan Stewart, that I think you look at that receiver room especially and you go, whoa, this room's about to be loaded.
Well, how does that happen? Because I think one of the big narratives that we have, the reason that Alabama and Georgia aren't dominating like they used to is that you just can't stockpile that depth. That sounds like stockpile depth. How is Dan doing that when the Kirbys who got like 2 of them things, 3 of them things, how do those guys, we're seeing Dabo go through it at Clemson. How has Dan found the special sauce?
Well, I think losing starters to the transfer portal happens, and guys who play significant snaps, it happens. And Oregon has done a really good job of retaining talent in the transfer portal, and guys aren't leaving that are significant players. Now, does it happen? Absolutely. It happens to every program, but in mass it's not. And then you start recruiting and stacking depth behind the starters that you have. I think that's where you kind of get that, where you get that, all right, guys are coming back. And then like you mentioned with the defensive guys that came back, the defensive line that all returned, from Mateo Uiagalelei to Bear Alexander, Amari Washington, and Tatum Tuioti. When those 4 guys come back, that's just kind of like dumb luck and using your resources properly, using your NIL resources that you have properly. That I think plays a big role into it. And they've done a really good job. And I think a lot of people roll their eyes and they, when you hear it repetitively and you hear it over and over again, but connection and culture really do matter. It really does matter because everybody has NIL money. The top teams across college football, they all have money. They do. We look across it and we say, how are these programs like Indiana coming out of nowhere? Well, they've got, a damn good coach, but they have resources there that people didn't realize until NIL started.
I think Indiana spent almost as much as Penn State did last year, not counting, obviously, Franklin's buyout, but I think it was something like football operations were like $4 million apart in what they spent.
There is in that, when you are recruiting guys and you're bringing guys in to your program, as Coach Lanning likes to say, when you bring those guys in, you establish the baseline of expectations, which is you're not coming here to be guaranteed a spot. We are going to do everything we can to help grow you, get you to that next level. But it is the culture, it matters. But also the results matter too. Because a lot of these guys, team success, and we've seen, you go to Fiesta Bowl year 1, then you go Rose Bowl, and then you go to the college football playoff semifinal last year for Lanning, right? There has been this step in results as team success, but look at the draft picks too. Talent is being developed and grown there, and that's with the guys that they've recruited, guys that they inherited, but also the transfer portal guys that have come into. And those things matter. Like all of those things matter. And that's not to say that, Kirby Smart doesn't do that, because obviously he does. But you put all of it together, they've had a lot of retention, and that it speaks a lot to the health of the program itself.
Jordan texting this in 503-864-6326. It's interesting to me the amount of fans that still act like Oregon hasn't lost a ton to the draft before and just come back as strong or stronger than before. And that's a fair point. And I think there is something about that culture that Dan creates as practices are getting going and guys are coming in, and
they've been recruiting really good players too.
That also helps. And they've been right a lot. There's a little bit of luck involved. Yeah. Like guys have popped when they need to. And we were talking before the show today, kind of like in the USC situation. They might have the number 1 recruiting class, but I'm not looking at that stuff because I don't even know if those guys are going to be there next year. Mm-hmm. And so are you getting guys? Yes, but are you getting guys that pop? And I think Oregon's been very fortunate of that. As spring is going and practices are starting and all that kind of stuff, what kind of like identity, theme, kind of culture situation can we expect this year from the team?
Yeah, I think any program across the country, you look at 3 things in spring ball: your returners, you look at your newcomers, and then the guys that you are hoping to pop, right, and take that next step forward, and how those 3 groups kind of move together throughout the course. Like, there's no doubt about it, there's big change at Oregon. You not just with guys leaving for the draft, but you're replacing both of your coordinators, with Tosh Lupoi going down and taking the Cal head coaching job. Will Stein goes out to Kentucky. And so, those are the things that I think fans should be excited to see, is what changes and how drastic are they? And, something tells me that when you return as many guys and you recruit to a system and an identity, it's not going to change dramatically. There hasn't been a need to change dramatically with what you do and how you scheme your base. That's going to be the interesting part to me, because you have Chris Hampton as a defensive coordinator now, who is one of the brightest minds in college football. Like you look at his path to get to Oregon as a defensive coordinator at Tulane. Before, he was co-D coordinator with Lupoy. Now he steps in and slides into that role. And then you have, on Drew Maringer on the offensive side, kind of always being that guy in Will Stein's ear, and as a tight end, being the extension of an offensive line, but also an extension of the receiver room as well. I don't think you're going to see any wholesale changes, but there will be tweaks, and that's going to be the interesting part to it, right? Is it going to be more downhill running, or are you going to continue to be a perimeter screen game-oriented team that runs the ball really effectively? I think people forget how effectively Oregon ran the football with Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel, and then last year with Dante Moore. They are a run-first team, and that's kind of always been their identity. And, how that fits to the pieces that you have on the chessboard, because 3/5 of your starting offensive line changing, that's going to be different, right? Like sometimes you have a skill set that you have to coach to, and the best coaching staffs will not throw the playbook out, throw our identity out, but they will tailor that offense to exactly what the talent has. And just looking at, whether it's the guys they brought in via the portal or the guys that are returning this year, there's a lot of speed on this roster. There is a ton of speed across the board offensively that I'm excited to see how they use them, right? With the return of Evan Stewart, who is you talk about a 4-4, sub 4-4 guy. Evan Stewart coming back from a knee injury, in what he looks like, that's going to be fascinating to see. You've got Iverson Hooks, the transfer from UAB, where, if you pop on his film, you just watch it and you go, little jitterbug out there, man. He can move out on the football field. DeCorian Moore returns. Those are 3 burners right there. And then, you replace Kenyon Sadiq with a guy that I don't know what to make of it, but because all the draft prognosticators, they get it wrong for this year's draft, but they're saying could be tight end number 1, Jamari Johnson. You have Andrew Olish, the former 5-star tight end from Penn State who transferred in. Keandre Harrison, another big body tight end who is a high-profile recruit that comes in as a true freshman. Like, there are a lot of guys on this roster that you sit there and you look at and you go, boy, they are going to be able to move the ball and play well in space. And I haven't even mentioned the 2 running backs that come back for their sophomore season in De'Aaron Hill and Jordan Davison. Those 2 guys shined as true freshmen last year in a backfield that they shared with Noah Whittington.
You're also returning – who is returning a more experienced quarterback in college football than Dante Moore right now? Look, Sorsby, I think, is going to be great at Tech, but he's first year at Tech.
Yep.
Hoover, we just talked about Hoover at Indiana. I think he'll have a nice year for Signetti, but that's his first year there. Yep. Julian Sayin is really young.
Arch and Sayin, both really their first time full-time starters last year.
And saw a lot of learning curves for them.
And I think that with Dante Moore, he has the benefit of, starting a handful of games at UCLA, sitting a whole year, and then coming in and starting all of last season. He's played a lot of football, man.
Mm-hmm. Oregon should be in good shape. I'll get you out of here on this, chocolate or vanilla. Chocolate. And you're done. Sorry, not fast enough.
Yeah.
Gotta be quicker. Gotta be quicker.
That going viral yesterday, that got me, man. Because I saw where he was going with it, right?
I do too. I completely understand.
If we're given the recruiting pitch, you and I are just sitting there, we're chopping it up, we're going through all the normal stuff, and then I'm like, hey, let's go some rapid fire here. And I give you chocolate or vanilla, pepperoni or cheese, Ford or Chevy, whatever it is, and you're not decisive on any of them, you're like, okay. He gave the one. And
out of nowhere.
It's not like I call you up and I'm like, hey, Patrick Harris, defensive back from Spokane, Washington. Chocolate or vanilla? Well, I'm done. And then I hang up.
I don't know if I want to go to that crazy place. Who are those people over there? I'm going to Wazoo instead.
You're going, yeah, that's
I'm
right.
going to the Cougs instead, baby.
That's right. I'm going to spin it.
Believe in Kirby Moore.
Where the only question is Busch Light or Fireball.
Dan Lanning.
Where it's just beer or beer.
Dan
That's
Lanning,
right.
never heard of the guy. Never heard of the guy. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, I appreciate you, man.
Have a great season this year, and I am very jealous that I think you got one of the coolest jobs in the world. being a sideline reporter for radio. It's pretty rad.
It is pretty rad.
It's a cool gig.
It is. There's a lot of, pinch me moments when you're sitting there looking around. You're like, whoa,
Penn State at night in a whiteout.
Yeah, Penn State in a whiteout, being in the big house, being there for the very last Pac-12 as we knew it football game. It's pretty rad, dude.